I told you in the last video that number 9 is not a practical problem. I can honestly say, as much as I love math, I have never had to do this in real life. But I'm going to show you this one just so you understand it. If you want to skip it, this is one of those questions where I would just close my eyes, pick an answer, and don't worry about it. But for those of you who want to know, let's work this one. You are going to need the quadratic formula, and I don't believe your formula sheet gives you that. Let me look at the formula sheet to see. No, so you would have to have this memorized, and let me just write it out for you. I'm going to write it right up here at the top where we can use it. So the quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, and all of that mess is over 2a. And again, this is called the quadratic formula. It is used to solve, sometimes called the quadratic equation, I think, but it's used to solve quadratic equations. I call it the quadratic formula. I think that's a more precise name. And in this particular scenario, let me draw a box to put my variables in. I like a box because they don't get mixed up with the problem. A, the first value is 3. That's the one with the x squared. B is negative 2. And C is 4. You would want to make sure that that's set equal to 0 before you start doing the math. If it were not, you would need to go ahead and solve it for 0. Set it equal to 0. Okay, so once you have all that, you just need to carefully substitute your values. I like to start with the bottom because the A is 3 and that one's easy to plug in. Just plugged in A. Negative B, so that's a negative 2 plus or minus the square root of B. So B is negative 2 to the second power minus 4 times A times C. So the hardest part for me of this problem is remembering the formula. You just use your substitution skills to get the numbers plugged in. And then you go to simplify. So a negative, let me just do it this way. Stick to your method. 2 times 3 on the bottom is 6. That's the easiest part. A negative 2 makes a positive 2. The negatives work together to become a positive. And then plus or minus negative 2 to the second power, that's negative 2 times negative 2, that's positive 4, minus 4 times 3, that's 12, times 4 is 48. So it got a little bit simpler here. Let's just keep on coming down. The 6 on the bottom can't simplify, at least not yet. But right here, I realize I have a problem. I am trying to take the square root of a negative number. And let me just point that out to you. This is the square root of a negative. And that's where the imaginary number comes into play. That's what that I is in your answer choices. Because we're trying to take the square root of a negative number, we're introducing the imaginary number into the equation. So let's keep going here. Let me just show you what I mean. That I that's in your answer choices, well, it's not in D, so I can eliminate D. D would have to have the I, or it couldn't possibly be the answer. So you could eliminate that one. Just know that it's not your choice. But the I, the imaginary number, is coming from taking the square root of a negative number. All right, so let's keep simplifying. I had to clean my glasses off. If you go ahead and bring this on down a little further, nothing to do with the 6 or the 2 yet, but I know that 48 is the same thing. Something's not right. What have I? Oh, it's not 48. Sorry. I just instinctively knew something isn't right here. That's 44. 4 minus 48 is negative 44. I'm sorry about that. Negative 44 is going to be the same as 4 times negative 11. Right? 4 times 11 is 44, and we're carrying that negative sign. So here's the negative 44. This is the same thing. Now I can take the square root of 4. That's going to be a perfect square. So let's go ahead and do that. The square root of 4 is 2. And I'm going to go ahead and take care of the imaginary part and leave the 11 in parentheses. So we're getting there. When you look at your choices, you see that there's a 3 on the bottom, not a 6. So we have one more step. We need to factor out the 2. So 2 into 2 is 1. 2 into 2 is 1. And 2 into 6 is 3. So let's see if this gives us anything. I can eliminate E because it's got a 13 under the radical. We need an 11 under the radical. We need a 3 on the bottom. So we have 1 plus 1i, square root of 11 over 3. The answer is B as in Bravo. Again, this is one of those I would skip. Just pick an answer. Don't leave it blank. Take your best guess and move on. If you get it right, great. If you don't, no problem. Just take a guess and keep on going. I would not spend 10 minutes to work that. Even if I knew I could get it right, I would just take a guess and keep on going.